Alex, May 1976 to the 6th of September 2007, was a gray parrot and the subject of a 30-year experiment by animal psychologist Irene Pepperberg, initially at the University of Arizona and later at Harvard University and Brandeis University. When Alex was about 1 year old, Pepperberg bought him at a pet shop. The name Alex was an acronym for Avian Language Experiment, or Avian Learning Experiment. He was compared to Albert Einstein and at 2 years old was correctly answering questions made for 6-year-olds. Before Pepperberg's work with Alex, it was widely believed in the scientific community that a large primate brain was needed to handle complex problems related to language and understanding. Birds were not considered to be intelligent, as their only common use of communication was mimicking and repeating sounds to interact with each other. However, Alex's accomplishments supported the idea that birds may be able to reason on a basic level and use words creatively. Pepperberg wrote that Alex's intelligence was on a level similar to dolphins and great apes. She also reported that Alex seemed to show the intelligence of a 5-year-old human in some respects, and had not reached his full potential by the time he died. She believed that he possessed the emotional level of a 2-year-old human at the time of his death. Early life animal psychologist Irene Pepperberg bought Alex at a pet store while working as a researcher at Purdue University. She believes that Alex may have had his wings clipped when he was young, which could have prevented him from learning to fly. Training Alex's training used a model-rival technique, in which the student, Alex, observes trainers interacting. One of the trainers models the desired student behavior, and is seen by the student as a rival for the other trainer's attention. The trainer and model-rival exchange roles so the student can see that the process is interactive. Pepperberg reported that during times when she and an assistant were having a conversation and made mistakes, Alex would correct them. This technique helped Pepperberg succeed with Alex where other scientists had failed in facilitating two-way communication with parrots. In later years, Alex sometimes assumed the role of one of Pepperberg's assistants by acting as the model and rival in helping to teach a fellow parrot in the lab. Alex sometimes practiced words when he was alone. Accomplishments. Pepperberg did not claim that Alex could use language, instead saying that he used the two-way communications code. Listing Alex's accomplishments in 1999, Pepperberg said he could identify 50 different objects and recognize quantities up to 6, that he could distinguish 7 colors and 5 shapes, and understand the concepts of bigger, smaller, same, and different, and that he was learning over and under. Alex passed increasingly difficult tests measuring whether humans have achieved Piaget's substage 6 object permanence. Alex showed surprise and anger when confronted with a non-existent object or one different from what he had been led to believe was hidden during the tests. Alex had a vocabulary of over 100 words, but was exceptional in that he appeared to have understanding of what he said. For example, when Alex was shown an object and asked about its shape, color, or material, he could label it correctly. He could describe a key as a key no matter what its size or color, and could determine how the key was different from others. Looking at a mirror, he said, "What color?" and learned the word gray after being told gray 6 times. This made him the first and only non-human animal to have ever asked a question, let alone an existential one. Apes who have been trained to use sign language have so far failed to ever ask a single question. Alex's ability to ask questions, as well as to answer to Pepperberg's questions with his own questions, is documented in numerous articles and interviews. Alex was said to have understood the turn-taking of communication and sometimes the syntax used in language. He called an apple a banary, pronounced as rhyming with some pronunciations of canary, which a linguist friend of Pepperberg's thought to be a combination of banana and cherry, 2 fruits he was more familiar with. Alex could add, to a limited extent, correctly giving the number of similar objects on a tray. Pepperberg said that if he could not count, the data could be interpreted as his being able to estimate quickly and accurately the number of something, better than humans can. When he was tired of being tested, he would say, "Want to go back?" meaning he wanted to go back to his cage, and in general, he would request where he wanted to be taken by saying, "Want to go?" Protest if he was taken to a different place, and sit quietly when taken to his preferred spot. He was not trained to say where he wanted to go, but picked it up from being asked where he would like to be taken. If the researcher displayed irritation, Alex tried to diffuse it with the phrase, "I'm sorry." If he said, "Want a banana," but was offered a nut instead, he stared in silence, asked for the banana again, or took the nut and threw it at the researcher or otherwise displayed annoyance, before requesting the item again. When asked questions in the context of research testing, he gave the correct answer approximately 80% of the time. Once, Alex was given several different colored blocks, 2 red, 3 blue, and 4 green, similar to the picture above. Pepperberg asked him, "What color 3?" expecting him to say blue. However, as Alex had been asked this question before, he seemed to have become bored. He answered, 5. This kept occurring until Pepperberg said, fine, what color 5? Alex replied, none. This was said to suggest that parrots, like humans, get bored. Sometimes, Alex answered the questions incorrectly, despite knowing the correct answer. Preliminary research also seems to indicate that Alex could carry over the concept of 4 blue balls of wool on a tray to 4 notes from a piano. Pepperberg was also training him to recognize the symbol 4 as 4. Alex also showed some comprehension of personal pronouns. He used different language when referring to himself or others, indicating a concept of I and you. In July 2005, Pepperberg reported that Alex understood the concept of 0. If asked the difference between 2 objects, he also answered that. But if there was no difference between the objects, he said none, which meant that he understood the concept of nothing or 0. In July 2006, Pepperberg discovered that Alex's perception of optical illusions was similar to human perception. Pepperberg was training Alex to recognize English graphemes, in the hope that he would conceptually relate an English written word with the spoken word. He could identify sounds made by 2-letter combinations such as shish and or. Alex's death on the 6th of September 2007, at age 31, came as a surprise, as the average lifespan for a gray parrot in captivity is 45 years. His last words, "You be good, I love you, see you tomorrow," were the same words that he would say every night when Pepperberg left the lab. Criticisms. Some academics are skeptical of Pepperberg's findings, asserting without data or peer-reviewed publication concerning Alex's data, that Alex's communications is operant conditioning. Nim Chimpsky, a chimpanzee, was thought to be using language, but there is some debate over whether he simply imitated his teacher. Herbert Terrace, who worked with Nim Chimpsky, says he thinks Alex performed by rote rather than by using language. Without peer-reviewed publication, he claims Alex's responses are a complex discriminating performance, adding that he believes that in every situation, there is an external stimulus that guides his response. However, researchers that have actually worked with Alex and published data on him say he was able to talk to and perform for anyone involved in the project as well as complete strangers who recorded findings. See also references. External links. Alex Foundation obituary article at the website of The Economist magazine. New York Times obituary article of The New York Times article, The Language of Birds. Article includes a transcript and audio sample of Alex, Parrot, on Season 12, Episode 1. Scientific American Frontiers. Ched Angier Production Company. 2001-2002. PBS. Archived from the original on 2006. Audio of Australian radio interview with Irene Pepperberg. Wired. Parrot proves it's no birdbrain life with Alex, a memoir film tribute to Alex. Alex at Find a Grave.